All right, so we're back again with this lottery app. So again, what this lottery app is going to do is it's going to pick 7 numbers ranging from 1 to 100. The user is going to pick their own 4 numbers, and based off of the number of numbers that the user gets right, the user will win a certain amount of money. So the program, again, based off the pseudocode from the prior lessons, the pseudocode will indicate what we're going to do in the program. So the first thing we're going to do is get the 7 winning lottery numbers. Then we're going to use a counter variable to keep track of all the correct picks. And then we're going to get user input for their 4 lottery numbers. And we're going to check to see if the lottery numbers are correct. And we're going to do this one by one. And then finally, we're going to tell the user how many numbers they got correct and what their winnings are. So we're just going to go ahead and get started here. So we're going to get the 7 winning lottery numbers. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new variable. We're going to call it lottery nums. And we're going to set it equal to an empty array for the time being. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a for loop to iterate through 7 times, and basically create 7 random numbers that we'll use to store the lottery numbers. So this will just be a simple for loop. We're just going to go 1 through 7 for 7 numbers, and then x plus plus, and curly brackets. So what this for loop is going to do is going to say for x equals to 1 until it's equal to 7 or less, or while it's equal to 7 or less, add x plus 1. So it's going to iterate through x equals 1, then x equals 2, then x equals 3, et cetera, until it gets to x equals 7. So then what we're going to do is we're going to create random numbers. So if you remember from our previous lessons, we're going to copy code from that effectively. So we're going to do, we're going to start off with math.random. This is going to give us a random number between 0 and 1. And then we're going to multiply it by 100. That way we get a random number between 0 and 99. And then we're going to add 1. This will get us a random number between 1 and 100. And then we want this to be a round number. So we're going to put a math.floor around it to get to make this a whole number. All right, so now each time this for loop runs, we're getting a random number between 1 and 100. Now the next step is we want to store that in our, we're going to call this lottery numbers. So we're going to store this in our lottery, and you can see here autocomplete types. So you just press tab to autocomplete that. So we're going to have lottery numbers, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the push method to add each new random number to our array. So we're going to do that, double check all that, and then we're going to add a semicolon to complete the statement. So again, this is just getting 7 random numbers that are going to be our lottery numbers, and then we're storing it in the array lottery numbers. So the next step is we're just going to create a counter variable. This can just be called counter, and we're going to set it equal to 0 for the time being. Next, we're going to get 4 lottery numbers from the user. So the first step is we're just going to create another array. So 4 equals 1, x less than or equal to 4, x plus plus, curly brackets. So again, this is just going to run this code, whatever's in this for loop, 4 times. So this is a basic for loop here. And then each time it runs, we're going to ask the user for an input. So we're going to say pick lottery number, and we're going to let the user know how many numbers they have left. So we're going to do lottery number 1 for the first one, which will just be x, and then single quotations out of picks. Number should be between 1 and 100. Get a semicolon. So this is just prompting the user, pick lottery number 1 out of 4 picks. Number should be between 1 and 100. It'll iterate through, and this will say 2 the next time, 3 the following time, and then 4. And just remember, so this is a string here. Since X is a variable, it doesn't have the single quotations. The plus sign concatenates. So I'll say this is a string, and then I'll add, concatenate this variable here, and then concatenate the rest there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new variable to store this information. We're just going to call it pick for the user pick. And then what we're going to do is for each pick, we're going to see whether or not that number was part of the lottery numbers. So we're basically just going to iterate through the lottery numbers here. So we can just copy paste this, and another shortcut key is Command plus L selects the entire row, and then Command plus C copies it. We go down here, and now we're missing a curly bracket, so we're just going to add that. That way that's set there. And then we're also going to do this 0 through 6, because if you remember arrays and lists, the first element in that array is a 0, not a 1. So this will iterate through 7 times. I'll go through each item or each element in the list. All right, so each time we go through, we're going to say if lottery nums, and we actually have to change this to a different variable so we don't use it again here. So we can't use X and then X again, so we'll change this to Y. All right, so now we got our Y there. So if lottery numbers equals pick, then do stuff. And what we're going to do is we're just going to do counter plus plus. And also important to remember here, this needs to be 2 equal signs in a row. 2 equal signs in a row tests to see if these 2 numbers are equal. 1 equal sign assigns a variable to, or assigns information to a variable. So make sure to use a double equal sign here to ensure that this is actually testing to see if they're true. So what this for loop is going to do is it's going to go through, get the 4 lottery numbers from the user, and then test to see if the numbers are actually correct. So this is what we actually did down here. So we're just going to move this code up, and you can just press Option plus up to move this comment up. And yeah, so this comment is what this for loop is doing. So this for loop is just checking each lottery number pick to see if it's a winning number, and then increasing the counter if it is. And then our final step is down here. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to tell the user, you got, let's do a counter. Scroll for a second, I should read this. Numbers, you win. So this is where it gets a little tricky. So if you look up here, we can just copy paste this line. So if they get 1 number right, they get $5. So, and if they get 2 numbers right, they get 5 times 5, or $25. If they get 3 numbers right, they get 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, or 25 times 25. So that's 5 to the 4th. And if they get 4 numbers right, then they get 625 times 625, which is 5 to the 8th. So this is a little tricky of a formula, but what we're going to do here is we're going to do 5 to the power of 2, and then we're going to do that to the power of the number correct minus 1. Let's see if that's right. I think that's right. So this is counter minus 1. All right, put in some parentheses here. And some parentheses here, just to make it a little bit more readable. And an exclamation there. And semicolon. So let's see if we have too many parentheses. Yes. So you can see here, this little red squiggly under the parentheses helps indicate whether or not you have too many parentheses. And you can also see here the white boxes match up on the alert. So that's the other sign that we know we have too many parentheses here. So just delete one of those, and that takes care of it. So this part right here is obviously some tricky little math. So you gotta work with this a little bit, but this is saying 5 to the power of 2 to the power of the counter. So if you get 1 right, this is going to be 5 to the 0th power, or 5 to the 2 to the 0th power, which is 5 to the 0, which is $5. If you get 2 right, then this is going to be 2 minus 1. So it's going to be 2 to the 1st power, which is 2. And then this is going to be 5 to the 2nd, which is 25, and so on. So this part right here is obviously a little confusing. So if you didn't get it, don't feel bad. Just means you probably haven't taken advanced calculus in a little while. Not necessarily that your programming skills are not going to be up to par. And then finally here, you can just say the correct lottery numbers were, and then you can just put in the lottery nums and autocomplete the tab and semicolon. And that should hopefully be it. So again, what this pseudocode is doing is it's informing me as well as anyone else reading this code what the program is going to do. And then I can just leave it in here as comments. So what the program is going to do is first get the 7 winning lottery numbers. Then it's going to use a counter variable to keep track of all the correct picks. Then it's going to get the user input for the 4 different lottery numbers. And then we're going to go check and see if the lottery numbers are correct. We're going to do this one by one. Finally, we're going to tell the user how many numbers they got correct and what those winnings are. This is the overly complicated formula for how much money they actually win. And then it just tells the users this. So we're going to save this. Always make sure to save it. We're going to go back here. We're going to save this, double check that everything is saved. And then we're going to see if our actual program works. So let's just go in here real quick. And where did I put this file? 0 temp. So here we go. Open this playground.html file and see if it actually works. So this page says pick lottery number 1 through 4. 1 out of 4 picks. Numbers should be between 1 and 100. So we're going to do 4. Let's do 15, 2, and 89. So you got 1 winning number, you got $5, and the winning numbers were these. So it looks like 22 was the winning number. So looks like this thing is working. We could test it out more by just playing it a bunch more, but it looks like this is working well.